evening. It's a pleasure to have you here tonight, and we're really looking forward to launching FZY Tour tomorrow. This is an opportunity for us to explain a little bit more about what FZY Tour is and answer any questions that you may have. You are welcome to put any of your questions in the comments section, and we will cover them hopefully during the next hour, but if not, we will answer those at the end during our Q&A. This evening, we are joined by myself, Rebecca Freeman. I am the Director of Programming and Youth at FZY. Joel Jacobs, who is our Executive Director at FZY. We have Eliana, who is our Marketing and Communications Manager at FZY. And then we have Joel Bayford, who is heading up FZY Tour as part of his work on the movement team at FZY. We then also have our external partners who we work very, very closely with. We have Aaron, who works for Tlalim, and that is our tour operator on the ground during our Israel tour experience. And then we have Adam from UJIA Israel Experience, who is also one of our partners who works very closely in guiding us and the other youth movements on Israel tour. So this evening, we are going to be covering various things from a little bit more about the program and itinerary and what you can expect in terms of logistics, safety and security, insurance, and everything that needs to be done logistically before and during Israel Tour from your end and from our end. We'll talk a little bit more about financial areas, whether that be financial assistance, as well as the cost and different dates for payment, as well as cancellation policy, and of course, a bit more about how we make up the groups to ensure that your child has a safe and amazing summer experience. And as I mentioned, applications open tomorrow, and we'll tell you all about how you need to apply. I'm now going to pass it over to my colleague, Joel Bayford, who's going to tell us a little bit more about who FZY actually is.
Hello everyone. Just before I start about FZY, I just want to introduce myself again. So I'm Joel. I'm a movement worker at FZY and head of Israel Tour this year. I led tour as a Madrich in 2023 and again in the summer just gone. And I've got a massive passion for Israel, love for Israel, and I'm driven by the idea of giving youth of today the incredible experiences I've had. So FZY stands for the Federation of Zionist Youth, and we're the oldest and largest Zionist youth movement in the country, with more than 100 years of experience in empowering young people and building strong Jewish identity. We are a Jewish, Zionist, and pluralist youth movement, which means we bring young people from a wide range of backgrounds together and give them a space to connect, learn, and grow. Everything we do is guided by our values and by the belief that young people thrive when they are supported, inspired, and given opportunities to take ownership of their Jewish journey. Throughout the year, we've run a wide range of programs. This includes regular local meetups, weekend seminars, summer camps, leadership development courses, travel abroad programs, and our well-known gap year option. All these experiences are designed to build confidence, independence, and strong peer connections. Israel Tour is one of the highlights of our annual calendar. It brings together everything we believe in: high quality and formal education, joyful Jewish life, personal development, and a warm and supportive community around your teenagers.
Thank you, Joel. Welcome again. I just want to introduce myself. My name is also Joel. I'm the Executive Director of FZY. I actually was a participant on the Israel Tour program in the 1990s. I was a tour madrich in the early 2000s. And for the last 20 plus years, I've actually been working for FZY in several different roles, and more recently as FZY's Executive Director. I'm actually based in Israel. I made Aliyah from the UK to Israel just over 17 years ago. And as part of my role, I'll be based on the ground in Israel when the tours are happening throughout the summer. So as Rebecca mentioned at the start, there were 3 different partners and representatives from 3 different organizations who were here on the call for FZY, from Tlalim, and from UJIA Israel Experience. So I want to share a little bit about what each of the different partners do and how we work together in order to provide an enjoyable and safe and meaningful program this summer. So first, FZY. FZY we kind of like bring that educational and ideological vision. As Joel mentioned before, like we just now, like we're a Zionist, Jewish, pluralist youth movement, and we bring those values and those ideals into the program, and through like the prism or educational prism and through an ideological prism, we bring that to the program and ensure that everything that we do fits within that. We hold the communication with families, where we'll talk a little bit more later this evening about how we communicate with families, but the communication with families will run through FZY. We take a significant part in the madrachim, which are the leaders, their training and recruitment. We manage the application process. When people start applying to the program tomorrow, we will take families through that application process. The travel insurance is supplied by FZY. We're the people who hold that travel insurance policy, and we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of this evening. We're also FZY also hold an ATOL license, which means that the FZY Israel Tour program is ATOL protected, and officially FZY is the tour operator for this program. And we also provide journey like post Israel Tour. Like, we are a youth movement. We run more than just the Israel Tour program. We start with participants and our members from age 11, running all the way through well into their 20s. And so we provide a journey, and as Joel mentioned before, some of the different programs which are also available to participants post Israel Tour. UJIA Israel Experience, their role within that is they play a big part on the flights, and Adam will share with us a little bit more later this evening about how that works and how they are all coordinated. In terms of crisis management, they hold that role there across all of the different youth movements and organizations that go to Israel in the summer. So they hold that piece there and work alongside FZY and Tlalim with that. They are also involved within the madrachim training and selection process, and again, also the application process. They're very much involved with that and have been helping FZY and the other movements to set up the forms, and will be helping us process some of those applications as they come in. And then Tlalim are our partners in Israel, and they provide all of the logistics on the ground, whether that's the accommodation, the food, the security, everything there runs through the Tlalim organization. They are the people they're the organizations which hold the medical insurance, which we'll touch on a little bit later this evening as well. And they too are involved in the madrachim training and recruitment, specifically with the Israeli madrachim, but also too with the British madrachim. So how do we actually build the Israel Tour program? So we do that by taking a few different pieces together and ensuring that all of those are intrinsically important to the way that we build the program. The first is safety and security. We ensure that before anything else, that our programs are safe to run, that participants are safe, and that they feel safe as well. That is our number one priority, and we'll talk about how we do that throughout this meeting. There's also like welfare and communication, like how we communicate both with the participants and how we communicate with you as the parents. How we look after the welfare of the participants. It's important they are safe, but it's also important that they feel safe and that they're being cared for. The values of FZY. We spoke about FZY being a Jewish, Zionist, pluralist youth movement. We have different goals, whether that's tzedakah, righteousness, whether that's Magen, standing for defense of Jewish rights, whether that's Tarbut, which is culture, looking at Israeli culture and Jewish culture, whether that's Aliyah Nimshechet, about having Israel as the home of the Jewish people, making sure that those values are there and are coming through in all of our programming. And that kind of like touches onto that core educational program to make sure that, yes, the Israel Tour is a fun program, and we'll see as we touched in the program shortly, like some of the fun activities that the participants will be able to engage in this summer. But it's also an educational program. For us, that's important, that they are learning and understanding about the connection to Israel and the Jewish people. And understanding Israel today, as well as the history, and obviously being in Israel allows us to be able to do that. So before I pass on to Joel, who will kind of like talk us through some of the different places that the participants will go on, I want to kind of like just touch on what makes FZY Israel Tour the best program that is out there on the market. So the first is like our experience in operating Israel programs. Like we've been running Israel programs for decades. Since I was a participant, FZY has taken more than 10,000 young people to Israel on FZY on the Israel Tour program. More than 1,000 others who have been with us to Israel on gap year programs, and hundreds others on other short-term programs. Like we have decades of experience of running Israel programs and running them really well. Our education and ideological prism, which we've touched on already, like being a pluralist youth movement means we are educating them to be Zionists and connecting to their Jewish identity, but we're not telling them how to do that. We want to share with the participants a variety of different thoughts and opinions, and to share different ideas with them, to allow the participants to understand like how they want to connect with Israel and how they want to connect with their Judaism. And being a pluralist educational youth movement allows us to do that. The FZY Israel Tour program is the longest of all the Israel Tour programs that are on offer this summer. So there'll be more time spent in Israel than there will be with other organizations. We have our own Maccabiah games, which is like an absolute highlight. I'm sure Joel will touch on that shortly, so I'll kind of leave him to speak more on that. But it's an amazing event that only FZY runs, and is certainly a highlight of our program. We have amazing partnerships on the ground, which not all of the other youth movements and youth organizations have the same partnerships. We have partnerships with the Sofim, which is the largest Israeli youth movement in Israel. And we are having different partnerships with them. And we'll be having some Israelis from the Sofim who will be joining each of the buses, and we'll be spending time getting to know and becoming friends with the British participants. And we'll hopefully also be going to visit them in their camps and in their environments as well as part of the program. We also have partnerships with different regions in Israel, like Mata Asher, which is a partnership in the north, which is where we actually base our Maccabiah. And we have, and they sometimes create different volunteering opportunities and other things for us. So our partnerships are really strong, allow us to provide a really fantastic program. Joel mentioned before about the different activities that we've run outside of Israel Tour. And, we have an amazing opportunities post Israel Tour for like participants to stay involved and engaged with FZY and with the community. This summer, for people who went on Israel Tour in 2025, they have options to come back to Israel again with FZY. They have options to go to Thailand with us on a volunteering program. We have around 100 people who went on Israel Tour last year who are in one of our leadership development programs. Like we have so many opportunities which are available post Israel Tour. It's a journey. It's not necessarily a single program, and all of those which are available to your children. And additionally, we have the most intense Madrachim training of any of the youth movements and organizations which go out. On top of all of the training that the UJIA provide for across all of the youth movements, we add on extra weekend seminars, extra days into all of those things to ensure that our Madrachim are trained in everything they need to, so they are absolutely ready to guide your kids this summer. So let me pass on now to Joel, who can share a little bit more about actually what the program entails.
Thank you, Joel. So over the 3 weeks of Israel Tour, your children will be traveling across the entire country and taking part in a rich blend of learning, adventure, culture, and pure fun. They visit all the key places that parents usually ask about: Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Eilat, and Masada. They also explore the Kinneret, the Dead Sea, as well as historical sites like the Kotel, Yad Vashem, and many more. Alongside the educational side, there is a really exciting experiential element. Activities such as sand dune surfing, water sports, kayaking along the Jordan River, and snorkeling give them a real sense of adventure. There are also cultural elements to Israel Tour, such as providing them with a range of guest speakers to develop their Israel knowledge and staying at the Bedouin tents. As Joel touched on before, a key highlight for a lot of our participants is our very own Maccabiah games. Around halfway through Israel Tour, we bring every tour together where they compete in a range of activities. educational activities that some are prepared beforehand, and then sporting activities on the day and ruach competitions. It's the most unbelievable day, and I'd say everyone calls it their favourite day as well by the end of tour. As well as all of this, we like to make sure tour is not only about seeing the sights, but also about helping young people understand the country, its history, and the communities that live there. All of this is delivered within a fun and supportive youth movement environment. The list shown here is only a small sample of what they'll get up to while they're away on Israel tour, and there is so much more that makes the programme unforgettable and genuinely life-changing. And the people that help make this happen on the ground are our British Madrachim. On Israel tour, each group will have 2 British Madrachim and 2 Israeli Madrachim with their group. In regards to the British Madrachim, we have a multi-stage selection process that begins several months before tour, and in fact has already begun. We look for young adults who have already shown strong leadership experience, who show maturity, responsibility, and who have a natural ability to educate and support our younger participants. Once selected, our British Madrachim take part in a variety of training seminars and courses throughout the year. This includes practical leadership training, program planning, and scenario-based learning. As well as this, all leaders have an up-to-date DBS check and complete a CPD Safeguarding Level 2 training, ensuring they understand how to keep young people safe and how to respond to any concerns appropriately. Each group also has a Mekasher, which is a senior member of staff on the ground in Israel, and they support the Madrachim and act as an additional layer of care for your children in welfare and any disciplinary situations. So overall, this structure means your children will be looked after by a capable, responsible, and well-trained team throughout the entirety of Israel Tour.
Sure. I'll introduce myself quickly. I'm Aaron, also originally from London. I made Aliyah about 20 years ago. And I run the incoming tourism department at Tlalim. Tlalim was started in the 1980s, but I've been working there for the past 13 years. And together with FZY, I think this is the 5th year that we'll be running the program in partnership with FZY with great success. Each year they've come, including in 2024, when there wasn't a lot of groups on the ground in Israel. FZY brought a nice sized group to Israel, and we were able to run them a very successful program. So Joel mentioned about the British Madrachim. Tlalim takes responsibility for employing the Israeli Madrachim, one of which is a qualified Ministry of Tourism tour guide, and one of which is a Madrich who also serves as the logistical point person on the ground, as well as the registered first aider for the group. We take care of the training of those Madrachim prior to the joint training that they do together with the British Madrachim. And most of these tour guides work with us throughout the year, not only on groups in the summer, but also throughout the year on different groups from all over the world. As Joel mentioned, with the Makasher for each group, a senior staff member who deals with welfare and discipline issues. So this, in the same way, Tlalim employs a Rakaz, who's also a senior staff member who deals with more of a focus on logistics, the health insurance, and also partners with the Makasher dealing with the education in the groups and making sure that the education doesn't get lost, and that is at the forefront always. Even with all the logistical challenges that may come up, that education remains at the forefront of everyone's minds. So Tlalim takes care of all the land arrangements on the ground. So that includes all the accommodation bookings, all the food bookings, as well as all the transportation. We work with a wide variety of accommodation providers, generally guest houses, youth hostels, and some hotels. And I think anyone who's had participants on the program before can testify that it's never really the logistics which are a problematic part of the trip. That stuff is kind of, we make sure that it's all running smoothly and that the Madrachim can focus on the participants and the young people on the groups and not having to deal with any logistical issues which may come up. Everything is included in the price of the program. So apart from, I'm sure they'll talk about this later on, but from our point of view, apart from the odd ice cream here or there, if a participant wants to buy that for themselves, absolutely everything is included in the price of the trip. So Tlalim takes responsibility for the communication with Cheder Matzav, which is the situation room run by Israel's Ministry of Education. It's also known sometimes as Moked Teva for groups from abroad. That's how they refer to it. The Cheder Matzav is kind of the umbrella organization which under its auspices takes responsibility for getting updates from all the various emergency services in Israel. And we, as a tour provider, only need to be in contact with the situation room and don't need to get updates from all the various bodies. For example, Home Front Command, the police, MDA, the ambulance service, or the IDF. Everything comes from the situation room, the Cheder Matzav, and we're in touch with them every day. They have the schedules of each group are sent to them in advance. They approve those schedules, and if with any changes that they feel are needed, and this is not only security based, it's also safety related. So for example, if there's the heat index is very high on a specific day, or if there's, well, this won't happen in July, but at the moment, for example, flooding is something that they will contact us and tell us to change the schedule of the specific tour group who's in that area accordingly. So we're in very regular contact with them. And we pass on that information to the tour guide and the Israeli madrich on the ground to make sure that each group's schedule is approved by the Cheder Matzav before they go out on their day. And this kind of works in conjunction with various tracking softwares and which the groups have, so that we are aware of where every group is at any given moment during the day, and so too can update Cheder Matzav accordingly.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam. I'm from UJIA Israel Experience, which is a partnership of UJIA, the charity, and the Jewish Agency for Israel. So we are one of the partners on this Israel tour. We work as a cross-communal network for all of the UK youth groups who run Israel tours, supporting them all and giving guidance where we can. So the safety and security and welfare of all participants is our #1 priority. So Aaron spoke there about the Cheder Matzav and Moked Teva, and the infrastructures in place in Israel are really phenomenal and really geared to making sure that everyone can have a safe and secure place. And it's not just for our tour group. So over the course of the summer, we hope to send somewhere around 11 to 1,200 young people on an Israel tour this summer coming. It's not just for them. This is global. The infrastructure is there for everyone. There's tens of thousands of participants, of young people who are coming to Israel in the summer, from birthright groups to gap year programs to Israel tours to volunteering trips. And this infrastructure is there. It's really very, very well run and well coordinated to make sure that everyone can be safe. In addition to that, for the UK, for Israel tours, we have a number of safeguards and additional security measures that we put in place. So here's a selection of some of those. So for example, on the bus, you'll have 4 madrichim and 2 coordinators assigned to each group. This year, we anticipate that there will be an armed security guard traveling with the group at all times. That's what we've had for the last 2 years. We're very proud about the fact that we were able to send groups to Israel over the last 2 years in incredibly challenging circumstances, but those who wanted to go, we made it possible. FZY were a key partner in that. It was around about 40% of the Israel Tour participants over the last 2 years went with FZY, so they're incredibly experienced in this area. And we have that experience over the last 2 years to make sure that this summer will be no different, and that everyone will be safe and secure. And as I said, we anticipate that an armed security guard will likely be needed over the summer. That may change. Who knows what will happen between now and the summer. There's additional training that we put into place for the madrichim from across all the youth movements. There's an organization called Pikud HaOref, which is the Home Front Command. They give guidance to Israeli civilians, and they come in and run a training session with the Madrichim when we take them all to Israel in June as a preparation seminar. And that is for how to deal with crisis situations. They also get additional training in mental health and supporting your children through the summer if there are any challenging times, and also just generally over the course of a tour for all the different challenges that may arise. The staff will have knowledge of all the shelters, where they're going on their itinerary. Staff will be available. There'll be security briefings for the participants geared towards them to help them feel reassured and comfortable with being in Israel if it's a particularly challenging time. Groups will remain in green zones. Groups will not sleep or visit the West Bank, East Jerusalem, or other areas where there is raised tension. And when deemed appropriate, will take steps over and above the guidance of Cheder Matzav and Home Front Command. So Cheder Matzav and Home Front Command give their guidance, and we will always, always follow it. Sometimes we might go over and above to be extra precautious, just to err on the safe side. So in terms of flights, we have a group contract with El Al that we arrange all of the flights for all the youth movements over the course of the year, which gives us a lot of additional safeguards and securities in that respect. Last summer, just before the summer, there were some very challenging weeks, and we gave people had the opportunity to not go to Israel if they didn't want to, and we were able to get full refunds of all the flights at that very, very late stage. So we have a very good relationship with El Al, including if ever there was a need for repatriation. We have the relationships in place there and the contracts in place to make sure that we could do that. In terms of what your options are for flights, the groups have a group flight going out together on a certain date, whatever group they are in, and then coming back together as a group. But we understand that some people might want to extend their stay in Israel for a family holiday, or you might want to not go back to London. You might choose to go back to have a family holiday somewhere else, or whatever it might be. There's a variety of reasons why you might choose not to take the group flight. And there are 3 different options for you. You can change the date of your inbound flight. This is a flight deviation. So you can say, okay, I still want to fly back to London with El Al, but we want to stay in Israel for an extra 2 weeks. So you can change your date. For that, there's a £75 fee to change the date. You can choose to cancel your flight back to London, and for that you get £110 back off your price, or you can cancel both legs of the flight and you get a £350 reduction in the price for that. We try and be as flexible as possible. On the initial application form that you will fill out tomorrow morning, you don't need to know this information now. There is a question: do you think you might want to deviate your flight? Are you interested in a flight deviation? And you can just click yes or no. You can change your mind at a later date. It doesn't commit you to anything. But what will happen is once that is all booked in, once the tours are all full up and it's all confirmed who's coming in around about probably February or March time, the people who have selected yes, or then subsequently said that they would like to deviate their flight, will get an additional form which will ask you which flight you want to change to, and so on and so forth, and we'll make all of those adjustments then. So you don't need to worry about this or stress about this for tomorrow morning, but it's an option there, and we try and make things as flexible as possible for you to have the best possible Israel experience over the summer. The deadline for deviations is the 13th of April. So you've got a bit of time, but if you think that you will want to do this, just click yes on the form tomorrow, and that's it. You won't hear about it again until, as I say, February or March time. Finally, for me, the travel insurance policy. So the travel insurance policies are set across the whole network of the 12 different youth movements that we support. It's a very good policy, and we've had that in place. It's covered us over the last 2 years as well, as I said, in those challenging circumstances of the last 2 years. It does cover participants during a time of war, but it doesn't cover claims brought as a direct result of war. So the things that the travel insurance covers are things like cancellation, curtailment, if your child is unwell and can't join the group and you have to cancel last minute, or it also covers things like lost luggage and so on and so forth. Those type of things will be covered whatever happens. Something that happens as a result of war won't be covered, but there are a number of additional safeguards that we've built into the whole process and the whole program and the contracts that we have to safeguard your money in the event of a cancellation near the time, which we're very pleased that, as I said, we didn't have to do that in the last 2 years. We were able to run. But we have those additional safeguards there just in case we need to use them. And there's also additional medical cover on the ground in Israel for anything that's as a result of war. Again, fortunately, that has never been an issue for us. That hasn't been an issue for us in the last 2 years under these challenging circumstances. All the groups have stayed safe, and we're able to do that through itinerary changes, through forward planning, through deep knowledge of what is happening on the ground in Israel. If you want particular details of the travel insurance policy, it will be available on the FZY website.
Yes, so Tlalim takes responsibility for the medical insurance policy on the ground, which is through one of, or the largest, I think, insurance provider in Israel called Harel. And we take out an additional policy which also covers pre-existing conditions. There are some caveats to that, but in general, if your pre-existing condition has been stable for the past 6 months prior to the start of the program, then that would be covered as well. It provides a very comprehensive range of treatment, whether that be telemedicine options, doctors coming to groups, clinics, ER visits, like accident emergency visits, all sorts of different options. Each year we try and improve that, and for the last few years it's worked very well. There are some exclusions to the policy, that anything, which are all things I think which are mostly, against the rules of the program in any case. But you can see here when it wouldn't be covered. As Adam mentioned earlier, there are, despite the medical insurance not covering war-related injuries, there are national insurance, Bituach Leumi, coverages in Israel which cover those things instead, despite them being covered, but not being covered by the medical insurance. And the full policy, as well as a summary, one-page summary of what the policy includes, is available on the FZY website.
Hi, I'm Eliana. I am the head of marketing and communication operations manager at FZY. I've been at FZY for nearly 2 years now, so I know this area well. We place quite a high emphasis on communicating with parents throughout tour, because we are aware that 16-year-olds may be too busy or just not communicative with the parents themselves. So we take it upon ourselves, and there are a number of methods that we do this by. Last year we introduced an app for parents to receive daily updates of what their kid has done that day. So you'll have their schedule, their itinerary of what they did that day, and if we're lucky, we try to do a daily quote from their tour, and a link to the Dropbox, or we upload everything that Madrichim have sent through that day. So we're receiving daily pictures, and you'll be able to, each tour will have a Instagram account where you'll be able to see specifically what their tour has been up to that day. We'll also be sending daily email updates for those who don't have the app or don't want to get the app. We're receiving the same information and daily photos. We don't send an email on Shabbat because we are Shomer Shabbat, but this will be included in Sunday's update. We will also have a parent WhatsApp group chat where we'll be receiving important information and all updates. This will be admin only, so just FZY staff will be able to send information on that group chat. During summertime, we do have an emergency phone where out of office hours, you will always have access to a FZY staff member. This parents do not get in touch with Madrichim themselves directly, but we are on the ground to make sure that there's a link always between you and the Madrichim. So whatever you need, we are available 24/7 during the summer hours. We also have the Crisis Management Communication Hub, which, should anything occur in Israel, we have a team between in Israel and here between all our partners to ensure that you are updated immediately as with any information that has happened over the day, over the night. We also have a partnership with the Israeli telecommunications company. We have a very good deal with them to ensure that your child always have internet while they're in Israel. They'll be able to get in touch with you, and their phones will be working. For any further information, do get in touch with the FZY. We'll be in touch with more information close to the time. That we do have something set up. They'll be able to always have access to 4G. FZY Israel Tour this year will cost £4,725. This is inclusive of all flights, accommodations, food, travel, activities, security, staffing, medical and travel insurance policies. The price does not include spending money and a refundable damage deposit, which will be due shortly close to the time. And a $500 deposit will be required upon booking on Monday. This will be detracted from the full sum, which will then be invoiced to you in about a month or so, to the main email address that was listed on the application. So keep an eye out for that as it comes. The balance of payment is required by 23rd of April, so you will have a few months to get that together. But should you need any help with it at all, please be in touch with the FZY office and we'll be available to help you. Absolutely, financial circumstances should not be a barrier for participation on Israel Tour. We are here to help you. We know this is a large sum, but we don't want this to be a reason at all for anybody not to partake in this life-changing experience. So please be in touch with the FZY office for the few options that we do have. We can set up an installment plan for you, which you can work it out with our staff members how long you need to set that up for. That is absolutely an option. Or you can get a bursary available from FZY or UJIA. There's also an interest-free loan from UJIA, and this is all available upon first application. You'll see there's a link to find out more information about this, and we'll be in touch with you shortly. But please be assured that all of this process is confidential, and we'll treat this with the utmost respect. But we really don't want this to be a barrier for anybody partaking in Israel Tour. So please be in touch with the office should you need any further information about this.
So we know that cost is obviously a challenge in these particularly challenging times as well, the cost of living crisis, which is why we're incredibly pleased to be able to offer a subsidy this year through partners at Mosaic, which is funded by the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs from Israel. So this is a subsidy of up to £2,200. So it's obviously a significant amount of money. We have a number of criteria for which we can award the subsidy for, and the main sort of ethos of the criteria are set out by the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, and this subsidy is specifically targeting people who have had limited access or barriers to entry in terms of their Israel engagement or their connection to Jewish community life and Jewish identity. So there are three main criteria that we're going to be able to offer these subsidies based on. One of them is geography. So if you don't live in Northwest London or you don't live in Manchester near the main community hubs, you will score highly in that criteria. The other one is sort of Israel travel. So if you have not been to Israel before, or if you have only been to Israel once, again, you will score highly in that category. And then the other one is programming. So how involved have you been with a youth movement? How involved are you in your local shul or in your school societies and so on and so forth? You don't need to meet all three criteria. We do a sort of a weighted score for all the different criteria, and we'll be able to award the subsidies based on that. It's a separate application form. So on the application form tomorrow for tour, there will be a page that will give a bit more information about those criteria and about the Mosaic subsidy, and there will be a link to take you to a page on the UJIA website. Again, you don't need to panic and fill this in now. Get your initial application in for tour, make sure you secure your place, and then you can fill out the application form for the Mosaic subsidy should you wish. The deadline for that is the 18th of January. So the reason it's about a week before the main deadline for Israel Tour. The reason for that is we want to encourage as many people as possible to sign up for Israel Tour, and this subsidy might be a very important part of why you choose to sign up, we hope. And the deadline is a week before the application deadline, so that if you are unsuccessful in getting the subsidy, you have time before your deposit is fully committed, or before you're committed to plans to move things around and explore other options as well. So we will get that out, get those subsidy awards out to people towards the end of January before the application deadline. You're welcome to apply. It's not means tested, so everyone is welcome to apply despite circumstance, but it also doesn't impact your eligibility or your award for a bursary, for a means tested bursary. So for those of you who need financial support, there are means tested bursaries, there are interest-free loans, there are payment plans. And if you think you might also be eligible for this subsidy, you are welcome to also apply for the subsidy. So if you can go to the link on the application form tomorrow, we'll direct you to a page on our website. There's a bit more information there about the subsidy. There are, apart from the application form, there's one other requirement for those who receive the subsidy, which is a bit of pre-learning before tour goes, so that your child who goes on Israel Tour who receives this subsidy has to do a certain number of hours of pre-learning. FZY have built a fantastic program on offer, which I believe is going to be on offer to everyone, regardless of whether you get the subsidy, and it's a really fantastic educational program. But there will be requirements for people who receive the subsidy to do certain bits within that, a certain number of hours. You can spread it over time. It shouldn't interfere with GCSE exams. There's plenty of time to do all of this, and it will really positively impact as well their educational experience going into the summer.
Thank you, Adam. So I'm just going to talk through the last couple of slides. Just a reminder, once in a couple of minutes, once I finish through the last couple of slides, we'll be turning, Rebecca, I know, has been looking at the questions coming through. I believe there haven't been too many so far, if any, which hopefully means that we've done a good job of being able to provide information. But if you do have questions which haven't yet been answered, or not going to be answered in the next slide or two, please do take the time to ask those in the chat. And Rebecca, in a minute, we'll start fielding those once we finish this. Okay, so cancellation, should there be a reason why you choose to apply over the coming days and then need to cancel? This is our cancellation policy. It's a full refund less than £150 admin fee if cancellation happens before the 26th of January. After the 26th of January and until around 2 months before departure of the program, as a refund of 100% of the amount of money paid, except for the deposits and the admin fee. That's the £500 deposit and the admin fee. And once we get into the 2 months prior to Israel Tour happening, there is a sliding scale of refund. This is if you're choosing to cancel your place on the program. Obviously, if you're choosing to cancel or you need to cancel your place on the program for one of the reasons which is potentially covered in the travel insurance, then that's that's separate, and that's a process that we'll work with you about. Should FZY have to cancel or curtail Israel Tour for due to safety and security? Like we're putting contracts in place with Tlalim and with other suppliers to safeguard participants' money, our families' money. We can't give you specific answers as to exactly how much money you'll get at any given time. It really depends on so many different factors. But what I can say, and we've done a very good job of this, especially over the last few years, is being able to make sure that we are safeguarding people's money. So that should there be a necessity that we have to cancel the program for safety and security, that we hopefully will be in a position to provide the vast majority of money back to you. You can find our full cancellation policy on our website. Okay, I believe this may be the 2 more slides. Okay, group splits and how this works. FZY is hoping to take several groups to Israel this summer. Last summer, we were fortunate enough to take 10 groups out to Israel. We're hoping to take similar numbers, if not more, this year. We have the ability to take even more than 10 groups, should there be the demand for that. Our core goal right now is to create balanced groups. That means groups geographically, so that there is not one group where there's only Manchester participants or only Leeds participants or whatever that is. We want to have a mix of people from around the country on different groups, wherever that is possible to do so. In terms of like sex as well, we want to make sure that as much as possible, there is even ratios of boys and girls on each group. Again, schools as well. Like we know there are certain schools, like if there are 15 participants coming from UCS, let's say, we don't want to put all 15 participants of UCS in one group. We will split them between 3 or 4 groups maybe. So like we want to make sure that like the groups are balanced, so that they will work well when they are in Israel. At the same time, we want to make sure that we understand that this is a program where your children want to be going with their friends, on the whole, and we want to be able to provide that opportunity for them to do that. So we, on the application forms, we will ask you, if you want to share names of some other people that you would potentially want to be in a group with, and we will do our best to try and provide to make that work. Our ideal is generally to be able to put people in small groups of friends of like 2 to 5 people together on one bus. An Israel Tour bus generally has around 40 participants on it. So a group of like 3, 4, 5 people is a nice sized group where they're not dominant over the rest of the bus, and it will allow these smaller groups of people to easily come together and form one much larger group, which is what we're aiming for. Also on that application, where it does ask for you to write friends who your child may want to be with, it does say, is there any other information that we should be aware of whilst we're splitting groups? It's really important for us. The more information that you provide, the better it is. Whether your child has unfortunately been bullied or been a victim of antisocial behavior in the past, whether they're a boyfriend or girlfriend who may be going on the program, whether they're whether they're a twin or a triplet. It's important for us to understand these things, and it's also important, for example, in like twins or triplets, sometimes families want them to be together, and sometimes families want them to be on different groups. So it's important for us to like know this information, because the more information that we have, that when we sit down to split the groups in a few months from now, then we have the information that we can do that the best way possible. The same goes here in terms of like specific flights. We're not asking people which flights, because we have, as we said, we're expecting several groups. We're not able to everyone to fly on the same day. They'll be flying out over a series of like 2 or 3 days. We're not specifically asking what flight you'd like to be on, but if there's a specific reason why you need to be on a specific flight, maybe you have another sibling's bar mitzvah on a specific date, which means you need to leave late or come home as soon as possible or something like that, then please do let us know. We will do our best to accommodate those things. And also, we know that there is the Maccabiah Games, which were postponed from last year to this summer. If there are any participants who are participating on those Maccabiah Games and want to come on to Israel Tour afterwards, again, please do let us know these things, because that also could have implications as to how we split groups. You don't need to worry too much about this immediately. On the initial application form, which comes out tomorrow, we're not asking you those questions. This will be on the second application form which will follow up. But do just start making sure that you're aware of like how that will be. And also be aware that every single group will meet each other at least once on the program. Some groups will cross over and meet other groups in additional times, but every single group will meet every other group on at least one occasion, and there will be other crossing over throughout the time. So finally, how to apply. So applications will open tomorrow at 9 a.m. There'll be the initial application form will be uploaded onto, will go live on our website at 9 a.m. We'll also send an email around to families who registered an interest. over the last few months on our website. We'll send an email out at that time as well with the link so that people can directly apply. Israel Tour FZY Israel Tour has been known to sell out very quickly, in less than 24 hours, even on some occasions. So we do suggest that you kind of like apply quickly to avoid disappointment. We will do our best to be able to accommodate all those that would like to come on the program. But then we have limitations both on flights, both on staffing, on accommodation, and lots of other things where, you know, there are limits. As I said, we're hopeful that we'll be able to take, you know, more groups than we did last summer, which was 10 groups. But we do recommend, if you know that this is FZY Israel Tour is something that you want your son, your daughter to go on, we do recommend that you apply quickly. The initial application form shouldn't take too long. It's only a few minutes to complete. A deposit payment is needed with that initial application form. And then once we have that in, over the coming days, we will then kind of like send out a secondary, more detailed application form once we've had the opportunity to process that initial application. So that is how we apply. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing the screen here, and I'm going to pass us back over to Rebecca, who I know has been keeping track of any questions which have been coming in.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Joel. So I will say that most of the questions I think that first came through have been touched upon, but I will just clarify some of those points. So I firstly want to say that, as mentioned, the meals are covered by us, and that will be kosher food. That being said, if your child would like to buy an ice cream or whatever it may be, there's opportunities to do that, but all the food that we will be providing is kosher. I know there's been some questions about when to apply, as Joel touched upon, I think in the last slide. It does sell out quite quickly, but please do not stress. I know there's people worried that they're working all day tomorrow. By the time you reach your computer in the evening, that is plenty of time to still apply. So please do make sure that you just get on that in the next few days. I think it was mentioned already, but we hope to take the same, if not more, groups than we did last year, and each bus can take a maximum of 40. It's a bus load, and you travel around, you tour around on your bus. In terms of friendships, and applying with names of friends that your child wants to be with, you can put up to 3 friends. I will say, as Joel mentioned, the more information, the better. We want to make sure that your child has the best experience, and we know friendships can be complicated, so the more information is better. It won't hinder your child's application. I'm just checking other questions. Sorry. For the people who have children who are also participating in Maccabi's Maccabea Games, not to be confused with the Maccabea Games that we mentioned, they are different, but this might affect a handful of people. Obviously, please put this in your application. We, funnily enough, work in the same office as Maccabi, and we are in close communications with them. This is something that is very much on our radar, and we will do our best to accommodate the needs of these select few participants. In terms of getting your child from the games to our tour, that is financially on the parent, but we will be, in constant communication with Maccabi, and obviously with the parents, to make sure that it's all done safely and it's a smooth transition. Eliana, I think we have a question a little bit about financial aid and financial difficulties. I don't know if you can see it, or if you would like me to read it out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that somebody's asked about the deposit. The deposit is £500 in the first form, but if you do tick that you want financial assistance, that deposit amount will be reduced to £100. This shouldn't hinder your initial application. If this amount is not reduced enough, please be in touch with us and we can arrange altering that amount again. But definitely that shouldn't that shouldn't be in the way of your initial application at all. So be in touch with us if you need any further assistance with that.
Thanks, Eliana. And I've just seen another question come through in regards to mental health. We know this is a very pertinent issue amongst young people, amongst everyone. And as mentioned, we, take this incredibly seriously. We will say, please put all information, be as transparent as possible. This doesn't hinder your child's application at all. But the more information we have, the better equipped we are to support your child and to give our madrachim the relevant training to ensure that they are safe throughout tour. There will also be, depending on the types of mental health that your child may be managing, specific plans put in place that we can deal with. So along with UJIA, and Adam, you might want to touch upon this a bit more than I am, but we put in a plan to ensure that our madrachim and everyone on the ground is able to support your child with the help of welfare professionals. But Adam, do you want to touch upon that a little bit more?
Sure, yeah, I'll just re-emphasize that really disclosing as much information as possible is really, really helpful. There's lots of additional support that could be put in place beforehand if your child needs an additional member of staff or one-on-one. There's also grants that can be applied for to support that financially, but that can only be done if we have the information beforehand. So when it comes to the medical information on the second form, you've got a bit more time to fill it out. Please be as open and honest. All of our goals is to take as many people to Israel as possible. We want to be able to take your children, but we can only do that and look after them properly if we have all the information. So please do be honest. If you're concerned about something, if you're worried about something, just pick up the phone and speak to FZY. And those care plans can be built together with you to best care for your child.
Thank you, Adam. I saw another question come through in terms of if you are in Israel whilst your child is on tour and you want to say hi and visit them. There are allotted times which will become clear once we send out the itinerary, which will be a little bit closer to the time. It will be, I believe, in the center of Israel where families can visit on certain allotted times for a certain amount of time. You can take your child, go for a coffee, go for an ice cream, whatever it may be. And it could be that family friends who live in the country. But Aaron, I don't know if you want to mention anything more that I may have missed out on that one.
Yeah, that was pretty much exactly it. It's in an evening. Usually, we try and do it in as central a location as possible, and as much in the middle of the program as possible. And it's people can come and visit the participants in the place which is defined by the group as where the visiting time takes place. So it's not possible to take the participants out of the program. So you can have coffee with them in the designated area which the visiting is taking place. And actually, like, taking them out of the program is a more involved process, which involves like waivers and signing forms and stuff. So that would be a separate thing, which was not able to be done during the family visiting time.
Thank you, Aaron. I've seen a question come through in regards to, if your child may not come from a Jewish school or perhaps not so involved in the community and is coming without necessarily any friends. I will say we put a huge emphasis in group integration and group bonding. In fact, we train our madrachim in how to incorporate and engage everyone in the group. We know what young people can be like, and it can often be a fear that it's going to be cliquey, and that is something we really do train our madrachim in ensuring that it isn't like that. We run icebreakers and getting to know you games. We encourage them to get to know each other before tour even happens, whether that be in group chats or whatever. But this isn't something you should be worried about. I can speak from my own personal experience from many years ago now, but when I was on FZY Tour, I didn't have any friends, and I'm still in touch with people that I was on FZY Tour all these years later. It really is a bonding experience. So I would say, I know it can be scary for your child, but encourage them to take that leap because it is really great, an opportunity to make friends. I think, Joel, you want to chip in
Yeah,
there?
just to add one more thing as well. Like it's also when we are splitting up the groups, like we're aware of like who hasn't written down they want to be with a friend. And if we see like several of those people, then also one of the things that we often try to do is maybe group some of those people on the same tour together, so they're more likely to find each other, so that it's an easier integration for some of those people. Instead of being alone when everyone else knows other people, there could be several people on the same tour who may be in a similar position. So the things that we can do, like Rebecca says as well, like lots of things that our Madrikim are doing on the program in order to break down cliques and making sure that everyone is friendly with. But like it's a situation that happens every year, and there are many people that come who are coming alone or coming without requesting any friends, and there's a lot that we do.
Thanks, Joel. I've had a few questions about the dates. So the dates for tour, as mentioned, we have it staggered going out because of the amount of tours we anticipate taking out with us. But the dates are as stands: the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th of July to the 28th, 29th, 30th of July. So it's the earlier date matches the earlier date of return. So those are the dates, and as we said, if there's a reason why a specific date might not work for you, we will do our absolute best to accommodate those needs, but it is imperative you are clear in communicating that with us so we can do that, as it's just making sure all the logistics sort of line up on our end. I've had a question come through regarding you were once in the UK and now live abroad, but would still like your child to apply. Please do apply. We would love for your application to come through, and we will work with you in terms of the logistics on that. In terms of restrictions on mobile phones, so we appreciate your children probably don't have that many restrictions on their mobile phones in their day-to-day lives. They're 16 years old, and we want to treat them as such. So we expect them to be respectful in our sessions. Unless we need to, we allow them to have their phones, but putting them away during those sessions to really immerse themselves and be involved socially. I'll say that we do in shared spaces keep Shabbat. So what they do in their rooms, we can't control, but during Shabbat we do keep Shabbat. So that would also mean not being on their phones during Shabbat. And we just expect them to obviously have their phones. We know that they want to be in contact with back home, but we encourage you as parents to also encourage them to be involved, be in the moment, and enjoy all the sessions that we're providing. I am just checking if there's any questions I've missed. Eliana, I don't know if you've seen any questions that I may have missed either. Sorry.
I did see a question regarding the financial assistance application. If you can't afford the £100 tomorrow, please do be in touch with us before you apply, as it's to do with your email address. We need to work with that before you apply. So please do be in touch with the office tomorrow before you apply, so we can sort out something that works for you.
Eliana cut out slightly, but the gist of that was still apply, be in touch with us, and we will work it out accordingly. I've had a question in regards to your child joining later. I'll say that, of course, we take everything on a case-by-case situation. I don't want to make any promises here and now. Of course, we have the staggered dates, as we mentioned, and obviously there might be external factors that may mean that your child, those dates don't work. Get in touch with us. Let's speak. If we can help out, we will, but I don't want to make any promises here. But like we said, please just be open and clear with your communication, and we will do our best to accommodate everyone's needs. I will say, I know I've been saying a lot about getting in touch with us. We are responsive by our phone. We're responsive by email too. I will set the expectations that we expect many phone calls coming through tomorrow, which is absolutely okay. If we do not pick up, we will get back to you. Please do leave a message, drop us an email, and we will get back to you. I am just checking some of these questions. Are there going to be coaches from Manchester? So we anticipate there'll be obviously applicants coming from across the UK, which is great. What we do is we have a meeting point in London and we provide travel from Manchester by coach, I believe. One northern location, Eliana, correct me if I'm wrong, a northern location to get everyone to London in time because all the flights are going out of London. I think Eliana's... I'm not sure if Eliana's internet is glitching, so
I'll just add it. Yeah, so like in a normal year, we provide coaches from North Manchester, from South Manchester, from Leeds, from Liverpool. They're often from Glasgow. It's normally not a coach; it's normally like flights which will come down to London. But yeah, we work with people which are either outside of the Northwest London centre, which is where all of the participants will gather before getting on a flight in either in Heathrow or Luton. So we will provide accommodation for those people outside of that Northwest London hub.
Thank you, Joel. I've had a question in regards to our agreements and our policies. Everything should be found on our website as of tomorrow. But if there's specific questions that you are unable to find on our website, please do get in touch and we will be able to answer those questions that you may have. Adam, I have a question that is, I believe, directed towards you, which is in what way is it decided that one security person is enough on a bus?
So the security guard on the bus at the moment isn't a requirement in Israel, and the security situation is such that it's not required. We take guidance from Cheder Matzav, from Moked Teva. We are not security professionals ourselves. We take the guidance. In this particular case, this is one of those times where we look at the guidance and we decide as a precaution to go above and beyond what is necessary. So again, this is speaking to professionals on the ground. So the Jewish Agency has its own security division who we speak to very closely, and deciding to go above and beyond what is necessary. It might be that at certain times in certain locations, Cheder Matzav will guide that actually that needs to be increased. And as we said before, we will always do the absolute minimum. We have to do what Cheder Matzav guide, but sometimes we will go over and above. I guess as a layer of reassurance, Israel tours have been run by FZY through the UJIA Israel Experience Jewish Agency Partnership for decades, and that has been through intifadas, it's been through wars in the north and the south, and in particular over the last 2 years, we've managed to run safe and secure trips for every participant, 1,300 young people who came with us on tours in the last 2 years, and we're incredibly proud of that. And the infrastructures that are in place in Israel are really, really thorough, and we're very confident in those structures.
Thanks, Adam. So I've seen a few questions coming up about the dates and concerns about specific dates. Please just email us as soon as you can regarding that, and we will keep check on those specific things, and we will do our best, as I said before, to accommodate as many of you as we possibly can. But please note that obviously dealing with such a large amount of people, we can do our best, but we can't make any promises. I've seen it come through. How many people are there in a singular group? There'll be a maximum of 40. They can vary depending on dates and things like that, but it's usually towards the high 30s, 40 being the maximum. I encourage you, if there's any further questions, please send them through now, because I've reached the end of my list. Eliana, if I've missed any, I know you're also keeping a check. Please jump in. Oh, there's a question for you there, Eliana, if you can see it.
Yes. The outcome of the bursary is up to UJIA, so I'll transfer that to Adam. So this is if somebody applies for a bursary, when are they likely to hear if they have been successful or not?
So the bursary process, the deadline for getting your bursary forms in is the 26th of January. And then we start processing all of those forms, and it goes to they all get anonymized. It goes to an external bursary committee who score those forms completely anonymously. So you can be reassured from that point of view. We try and get all of the awards that get made are a joint award between FZY and UJIA. So UJIA contributes a bit and FZY contributes a bit. And we try our best to get all of those out before Pesach, which this year is late March, beginning of April. Some awards will go up before then. We have a couple of tranche dates that things go out. So towards mid to late February, you'll probably start getting your award if you submitted all your documents on time. Delays can happen if incorrect documents have been uploaded or something isn't clear on your form, and we have to come back with follow-up questions and so on and so forth. And also the bursary process, whilst the deadline is the 26th of January, that is the set deadline for normal applicants. If something changes in your personal circumstances, or if someone just signs up late for tour and manages to get a place in May or whatever it is, somehow, if there's a change in circumstance, get in touch. We will always accept late applicants where we can, but obviously there is a limit to the bursary pot. So in terms of when you will get it, if you apply by the deadlines and you submit all the correct forms, it should be around February, March at the absolute latest. But the bursary process never stops.
Thank you. I'm just going to answer one final question and then we are going to wrap it up. But I want to just remind everyone that please, our emails are open, our phone lines will open from 9 a.m. tomorrow, as will applications. But the final question, which I think is a great one, is if England make it to the finals, will we be showing that? I will say I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure was it 2 years ago now, that we made the Euro finals. Soft, touchy subject, but we did enable all the tours to watch that sad defeat. So we will, pivot the schedule. We understand it is, very optimistic of whoever asked that question, but we understand it's of paramount importance that we watch that happen if it does happen. So yes, that is of course a top priority for us. As I said, we have our phone lines open, we have our emails open, we're responsive, and we are so excited to receive your applications tomorrow morning. If you have any questions in the meantime, drop us an email, pick up the phone. Our phone line's open at 9 a.m. and we will be happy to help. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening, and we look forward to receiving your child's application. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.